here's another hot question. And this is something that a lot of us are dealing with. It revolves around elderly parents and kids who are the trustee for the parent.
Right.
You know, something happens to the parent, they become incapacitated or pass away, and all of a sudden the kid is the trustee.
Right.
So the question is, what are my responsibilities and what is that all about? What should I be looking for?
Okay. Yeah. Paul, that's a great question. And do we have enough time to answer this question? I could speak for days on this because it's just one of those areas that it's so case by case specific. But let me first define what the issue is that you're addressing, and then we'll talk about the particular roles and why it's such an important position. So first of all, you're talking about the role of a trustee, and in your scenario, and we do this all the time in drafting, you're asking somebody, when you become incapacitated or when you pass away, who is it that you want to take on that role of mustering up the assets, netting out the expenses, paying off your taxes, et cetera, and then either distributing or administering those assets for the benefit of the beneficiary. That individual is the trustee. And if you look at the main component, the main word of the word trustee is trust. Somebody has to be a responsible individual to be able to do this. Okay. So all of a sudden someone becomes incapacitated and they pass away and they get this notice, oh, you're the trustee of your parents or your siblings' trust, and they have no idea what to do. It's very, very complicated. It's quite a daunting and comprehensive job. And the difficulty about it, Paul, is that it's a fiduciary duty, meaning that you have a responsibility to muster, administer, protect, and preserve assets for the benefit of a beneficiary. And there's no higher fiduciary duty in the land than that of a trustee for the benefit of a beneficiary. So it's a very, very high liability, high responsibility case. As a matter of fact, I like to say that a trustee themselves should take the copy of the trust that they have, and they should actually write themselves 2 copies. They should write it out twice, so they have it so embedded in their brain that they always have a copy of it with them physically, and they always have a copy of it in their mind, because it's just one of those things that you have to just know the rules for that. And because you have to, again, administer and hold those assets for the benefit of the beneficiaries. And what happens is they don't know what they're doing. You cannot use the trust and the trust assets for your own benefit. You can't use this to amass your own wealth. You can't have unreasonable compensation. You're using this, you are responsible for the benefit of, again, the beneficiaries. I keep on saying that because a lot of people think that, oh, it's my stuff and it's just upon my pure graciousness I'm going to give to the beneficiaries. And that's not true at all. It all goes back to having someone who understands what they're doing, or have someone who knows that they don't know, but yet have enough sense to seek out counsel to help them with the job, okay? So as we've mentioned before in previous recordings, our office not only provides trustee counsel, but also trustee coaching to make sure that process kind of moves along. So you have understanding the position. You got to have someone that has experience and accountability for what they're doing. They have to have a commitment to do this because it's a complicated job. And the first time it gets difficult, either because of the accounting, the mustering of the assets, or dealing with the beneficiaries, you don't want that person just throwing in the towel, either just distributing the assets outright, which kind of defeats the whole purpose, or just giving up and you have your second or third or fourth choices now having to step up. And you chose somebody as a trustee because you think they're the best person for this. You don't want them just throwing in the towels. You want to make sure that they have at least a level of commitment, or someone that will at least seek out help to make sure they maintain that commitment. Longevity and continuity, you want to make sure someone is able to keep that trust going, because sometimes they go for long periods of time, whether it's 20, 30 years, or sometimes even multi-generational. And somebody that's objective. This is also a big part of it about who you should properly choose. Is having someone that doesn't necessarily have a favorite person among the class of beneficiaries, simply because a trustee really shouldn't have a horse in the race, as I say. They really should treat everybody equally and relatively objectively. And they got to, again, follow the terms of the trust. So that's just kind of a scope of what the job is. And people do get overwhelmed with it. They don't communicate effectively. They clam down. They just neglect the responsibilities. Because they kind of get this thrusted upon them. So wait a second, I'm busy with my own life, Paul. I have my own kids. I got my own business I'm running. Why am I dealing with your business? Why am I dealing with the sale of your property? Why am I dealing with your kids and their tuition costs and paying their bills? I got my own thing going on here. So it's very complicated. And that's the challenges that we incur when someone just wakes up one day and says, oh, by the way, you're now my trustee. So either you don't accept the position from the get-go, which again is kind of not always a good thing. But if you do accept the position, just hook on with professional assistance. Get trustees counsel, get some trustee coaching. And so that way you can do the job that the person thought you were the best person to do the job, right? So I guess a long way of saying it's a big responsibility, and just have some help in getting that done, because ultimately everyone is for the better in that regard.
Isn't part of that equation protecting the parent's assets from a long-term illness too? As a trustee, I mean, that can be a drain on the parent's assets.
Yeah, you bet. There are we have Medicaid, Medi-Cal here in California. There are certain things that can happen with regard to medical expenses and long-term care expenses. But I think it just kind of goes down to one of the general objectives of a trustee is to protect and preserve the trust assets for the benefit of the beneficiary. Whether that beneficiary is the trust makers themselves because they're still alive, they're just incapacitated. Again, you're holding it and preserving it for their benefit, meaning you may have to do some maneuvering with the assets for that preservation purpose, or you're protecting and preserving it for the contingent beneficiaries, which traditionally is going to be the kids, right? Kids or the grandkids. So if the kids themselves are spendthrifts, the kids themselves have drug and alcohol issues, the kids themselves are, have a special needs issues. Again, protecting and preserving the trust assets is one of the primary roles of what a trustee does.